And thank you very much for staying with us here on PM Express. My guest is still the General Secretary of the NDC, Fiifi Kwetey. And just before the break, we're talking about his ambition to lead the party in the 2028 elections. And I made the point to him before that his crop of leaders have delivered a victory that it's unlike any other in our South Republican era. And he obviously was at the helm of that as a General Secretary. He's going to take that into this campaigning period for the General Secretary slot. I don't know if anybody wants to even contest him just yet. But Fiifi, I was making the point to you that because of the positions you've taken on a lot of issues, principled positions you've taken, and in our politics, in that part of the world, unfortunately, principle is something that isn't one that we adore. I mean, those who take principled positions are often punished and ostracized from political parties. You are taking principled positions on a lot of things. You are taking the reset agenda to within the party. That can be counterproductive for you, especially for your ambition. You completely accept that. And that it could cost you your ambition to lead a party in 2028 elections.
That's right. As I told you, it can. I mean, these are. You must be ready for consequences. One thing I've always said is this: you can't simply be attacking your opponents when you are doing exactly the same thing as your opponents. So that hypocrisy, for me, is not something that we should encourage.
What are you telling the delegates, though? I mean, when you go out there to put yourself out, what are you telling them? Because a lot of the delegates will hear you, and those, what is this new preaching that our General Secretary is preaching? That, it's about values, about the values we go chop, is what they will tell you. Principle and value. It'd be that we could chop. And when they tell you that, what would you say? Because I bet that will come to you.
Yeah, because first of all, it means the delegates are delegates of the National Democratic Congress, and they sing with pride. I mean, the anthem of the party, and they sing it at every function of the party. And that anthem simply talks about the need for us to always place our country as number one. That you should arise and arise for Ghana, all patriots of the land. So that really is what the party is about. So what am I really doing? I'm simply telling the delegate, this is what the party you belong to is all about. The fact that you may not fully understand it doesn't mean that effort must not be made to help us all remember and be anchored on those values. So they are not strange values at all. They are values that you know. So we are just asking you, let's embody those values. And we need to embody the value, especially because we have said we are resetting the country. And to reset the country means business as usual has to be over. You simply cannot expect that everything is done. MPP is bad, NDC is good. No. MPP is bad, but it doesn't mean NDC is perfect. So in order to justify the faith that people are placing in us, we need to make sure charity begins at home. Our party must become better and better, because that's the only way we can produce leaders who truly will be able to place this country where it ought to be. Simply accusing the MPP is not enough. As far as I'm concerned, a lot more is expected of us, because as you know, unto whom a lot is given, a lot is expected. And the people of Ghana have given us a lot of responsibility. And we owe it to especially the young generation of Ghanaians to make sure that the examples we are setting are different examples. We cannot continue the business as usual. I know it may not be a very easy, shall I call it, path, but it's a path some of us are willing to fight for.
Even at the cost of your political ambition.
As I told you, because for me, the thing about this business about political ambition, maybe I don't understand it, because for me, it's not an ambition. It's about transforming our country. You understand? So we'll play our role today, and another person will come and play a role tomorrow. As we say, cadres will go, cadres will come, but the revolution has come to stay. And for me, when I sing that, I mean it. I mean it. I mean, Jerry Rollins has come, he's gone. After Mesos come, he's gone. GM is here today, tomorrow he's not going to be here. I'm here today, tomorrow I'm not going to be here. But let's make sure we are putting down foundations and putting principles that would make the party greater and stronger, and that will make the country greater and stronger. So for me, these are not things I say alone. These are things I totally believe in, and I totally want to embody them every step of the way.
What is the Fiifi Kwetey ultimate unique selling proposition?
Even though it's a tough question, because I don't look at these things as, shall I call it, an individual thing at all. As far as I'm concerned, this is always about the collective. It's always about the collective. So if there is anything, it needs to be always wanting to ensure that we place the collective ahead of our individual interests. And I know that's a tough one, because sadly, too many people believe that the interest of the individual must always be ahead of the interest of the collective, even though we proclaim the collective interest when we are out there. But deep down, when it comes to the crunch and we have to make a choice between personal interest and the collective interest, too many people go for the personal rather than the collective. I absolutely believe that the group must always be number one. The individual must always be number two. The group always first. And even in this respect, if you listen to me a lot, even as you know, that even when it comes to the party and the country, I'm always very categorical. The country must always be number one and the party number two. That's also is another place where a lot of people have issues. You say, why is it always country? The country must be number one. If it's a choice between NDC and country, it must always be Ghana first. If it's a choice between NDC and me, it must always be NDC first. And once we understand that hierarchy, there will be no issues.
You think the rank and file, the grassroots of the party, the delegate, they get you?
I would say a lot of people understand that it's a tough thing, but that is the way to go. I think this country, by and large, is tired with business as usual. I think what we saw in that election is simply a manifestation that the country is far, far, far more, should I call it, discerning than a lot of people are giving credit for. It's not simply an issue of, you can't simply come and throw the usual promises and the usual get this today and forget about tomorrow. People are now looking at something more lasting, something more enduring. So I think that is actually the path that the country is willing to embrace, even though a lot of people still think that we are still in the past. But trust me, those people are going to have increasing shock to realize that the people are not as gullible as they think they are. People are looking for things that will endure, things that will really be good for the country on a long-term basis. So I believe that even if I don't have a massive majority today, I have a huge number, and that number will only keep growing. Because that is the only way this country will truly become great and strong. When everybody appreciates that country must always be number one. If you belong to a group, the group must be number one. And then your personal interests will come after that.
In line with that principle and the values, you did something almost unprecedented recently in the Ayawaso East primaries. You quickly issued a statement saying that you have evidence of vote buying. Which bias is the norm?
Actually, we didn't say evidence. What we said was that we want to go into it because these are allegations that have come out. So we want to go into it in order to be able to find some solutions.
The near unprecedented nature of this is here. The party was proactive in saying you've heard the allegations, and so you are instituting a probe into it. It rarely never happens, right? First of all, you have to chase the party and show him there, and then they'll dance around the issue. But even before the polls ended, you had already issued a statement. That's one. The president moves even quickly to recall the only appointee.
Okay, the only, let's say,
government full-time appointee. I mean, recalls him. And the speed at which you and the president moved was unprecedented. First of all, I need to understand what really was happening there at the time. At what point did you decide that you need to take action? What convinced you must take action? Because it didn't end. The poll didn't end when I saw the.
That's true.
I saw the. What was going on there?
That's true. Let's say this way: we were quite shocked at what I call the level of impunity. That's the only way I can describe it. I mean, I'm a politician, so I quite know that vote buying is not like a new thing. I mean, it's been on for a while. And as a party, we've tried in the past to find a lasting solution. That's why we move into almost what you call a universal delegate system ahead of the 2016 election. And to be honest with you, I took part in that election, even at the primary level. And to be honest, I didn't have to pay one cedi to any delegate because the delegate was so huge, there's no way you could have done it. So I would say to understand that was the solution. Sadly, the party went back after losing 2016. People with vested interest managed to say that now they taking away of the delegate system was major reason why we lost, and somehow the party leaders at the time caved in and allowed this to come back. But I'm saying the brazen nature of what we saw in also primaries, with people literally carrying what you call the goodies in the open, and some of them have the courage to even grant interview to defend it. I mean, we thought this was too much, So, and then again, we thought also that listen, we reset agenda. We simply can't say that because it's happened in the past, let's allow it to continue. So we felt this is a good opportunity to try to start addressing this problem, to find a sustainable solution to it. And that was a good opportunity to want to move quickly.
So you saw an opportunity
to
use as an example to begin to address the problem of vote buying.
Yes.
Okay.
That was quite important. And the president acted in line as
Did you coordinate this with the president?
Yeah, we did. Okay. It was complete coordination.
So the president was brought into the picture?
Absolutely.
Because you saw the allegations on television.
Absolutely.
And then you decided to take action.
Yeah.
I mean, walk me through the chain. You saw it first, you consulted with General Mosquito, I believe.
Yeah, let's say it this way, that the president also was picking up his report.
Okay.
We were picking our report. And of course, we got in touch with each other. Okay. Chairman was actually not in town, so he was actually busy in the program, but we had to be in touch. But not just the two. At the same time, also our party executives who were right on the scene. So it was a massive ongoing consultation, also with Parliament. Because that day, Parliament also was having a meeting, their own retreat. So leadership of Parliament was also in conversation. So I would say it was a very coordinated approach.
Indeed it was, because the president acted, you acted. Shortly thereafter, your majority caucus also issued a very strongly worded statement. They actually went a step further to say annulling. So all the key power centers, as far as the party is concerned, the president up there, you there in the middle, and then the majority.
Exactly.
All of you were singing the same.
And that was also important because what people do not appreciate is that this delegate system, there are beneficiaries. And the beneficiaries largely are the delegates. So by coming together the way we did, we indirectly sending a clear message to every delegate, not just in our household East, but in every other constituency, that the time has come to look at this and address it. So with what has happened, it's no more going to be difficult. If I walk into my constituency, Ketu South now, I mean, tell them that, listen, the so-called cocoa season thing is over. We now have to look at different ways of doing it. They will understand it because they do appreciate that it's not just a one person who is taking that, it's a total, it's a situation that requires new ways of moving forward.
I mean, but Fiifi, you say that though, except that the eventual outcome was much ado about nothing. In other words, the status quo prevailed. The guy who was seen, or all of them really, because as it came out, the committee members came out and told us that the candidates, aspirants, all admitted to giving different gifts, etc., to try and influence the vote. They rationalized it. In the end, the guy who won took his goodie away. Ultimate goodie is winning the delegates' vote.
Agreed.
Everybody else went about their no consequence whatsoever. That is fair.
No, I disagree. Let me tell you what the positives were. As you yourself rightly mentioned, the positives were that one, the party clearly acted and said, this is not acceptable. That's the first one. You've not seen that happening in the past. NDC never did in the past. MPP has never done that. They just finished their primaries. You realize that they never been bothered because as far as I'm concerned, it's for them, it's business as usual. Let it continue forever. We say, no, it cannot. That's fine. Two, the very fact that there is a recall of the person who is a permanent, who had a what you call permanent position in government. That's also another very important step. Three, the party set up a committee, and the committee's mandate was to, first of all, investigate and confirm whether this is really what it was. Two, to make a recommendation as to how we can resolve the problem. So our aim has always been a long-term resolution of the issue, because that really is what it is we are pushing towards. And the recommendations of the committee were very, very straightforward. First of all, the committee admitted that very improper conduct was exhibited, and the party agreed that what it did was absolutely inappropriate, very improper. That's one. So that itself set a precedent that openly we've said. The committee also said there should be we should annul the results. And the party said we agree with that that should be the position, to annul the result. But having said that, you also must look at the practical, shall I call it, consequences. You have to present a candidate the following day. If you annul the first of all, you cannot annul result because first of all, there is no precedent of annulling results of any primaries. We don't have it. We check our constitution. We really don't have provisions in our constitution for annulling any result, especially when somebody has been legitimately declared by electoral commission. So you have to look at first the legal dimension. Then you look at the time dimension. A candidate needs to present it. But what the committee also, what we did as a party after getting the committee's recommendation was to say, you know what, at the moment, we simply cannot do a lot on this particular issue. In terms of cancelling, we cannot cancel or annul the result. We also cannot, there's no legal basis to be able to get it done, but we can make a recommendation to the president that beyond the Baba Jamal, who is a full government appointee, at least we have two others who are also on board positions. We took part. Let them also be moved out of their board position. The party again is sending a signal that there is some penalty. But that's not all. The party also said, let's now set up a 7-member committee that would be able to go into the whole dimension of vote buying in any internal election in order to make recommendations as to how we can, what we call, permanently deal with this. So I would say that actually is what this whole thing has been leading about. What is worth doing is worth doing well. And the end result is to make sure a solution is found. And we are on course towards finding that solution. So I would say, even though it may appear as if, okay, Baba Jamal still is presented, therefore there is a loss. No, there's no loss, because we send a clear signal, even in the recall of Baba Jamal, that we simply do not agree. The fact that we agree that the result should be cancelled, I know that itself is a good step. The fact that we ask for others to also be recalled is another good step. The fact that we now are saying that go ahead now and let's find a permanent solution is not a loss at all.
Those are the two aspirants who also were on boards. Have that punishment been effected?
We have made a recommendation to the president. I think because of the I'm sure it shouldn't be a problem. That should be done.
So you're expecting that they will be removed from the board as punishment for buying vote in Ayawaso East?
Absolutely.
Who are the other two? Because
I think that will be the next two. I think the chairman of the committee, the chairman of the past chairman of the constituency who resigned to contest, and also the widow.
She's also on the board.
The wife of the late MP, also on the board. So we recommend that the two of them who also are on board must be removed as well.
So we have a situation now where the long-term objective is what the 7-member committee is going to do in terms of the work and the ultimate recommendation. How far-reaching do you anticipate that committee's report would sort of enact itself? Are you looking at a recommendation that simply would fix the matter for party elections, national elections, or across the entire value chain as far as the leadership is concerned, for branch all the way to national?
Every
and even presidential elections,
presidential, parliamentary, everything that has to do with the NDC internal
So
elections.
they're looking at the entire thing,
The entire
from
thing.
parliamentary primaries, presidential
Branches,
primaries,
constituency,
branch, all the way to
region, national, executive, parliamentary, presidential, all.
So you expect their recommendations to embody all this?
That's why I say it's a golden opportunity, because we are now in the process. We've not yet started our branch elections. So this came at a perfect time. So it's a blessing in disguise. I mean, so people may complain, but it's a blessing in disguise. It's giving us an opportunity to start this real reset, because this is a whole reset on its own. Let the reset now begin at the very root of the tree and then go all the way up to the top of the tree. Yes.
It's fascinating, because first time we're seeing a political party attempt this. I know civil society has been working years to try and get some legislation in because of the problem of vote buying. It's really at the heart of our problem. Campaign finance, political finance, it's at heart of Ghana's problems. If I'm a drug dealer and I fund your campaign, and who pays the piper calls the tune. If you get into parliament to become a member of parliament or a minister, I'm holding your tail, So if you fix the problem, you are fixing a whole raft of challenges that this country faces. You've begun to do that with the 7-member committee. How long do they have? What is their remit precisely? What are the terms of reference?
We've told them that given the calendar in place, for the reorganization process, we'll be needing this recommendation very early in order, to precede even the very beginning of the process of voting at the branch level. So what we've asked them to do without making us say we are stampeding them, because remember the previous one was actually, they were giving effectively just really a day, because the incident happened on a Saturday. We set up that committee that same Saturday. They started their meeting, the first preliminary meeting on Sunday. Then Monday was the main day, and then by Tuesday they had to produce a report. So that was very quick. But this one, at least, we're giving them a couple of weeks to be able to do an extensive deliberation consultation. If they still need maybe additional, maybe 1 week more. But basically, we have no much time, so they have to operate within that period in order to get us recommendation.
The work that you're doing currently obviously will lead to some changes. If NDC does it, of course, you take the reputational benefit, but some suggest that this must be a system-wide reboot.
Yeah.
Which means it's not only NDC, you're the big guys.
I agree.
You can set the tone with yours, but it's good if your other side.
I completely agree, especially the MPP. There are if they are minded. The first one we see, that's why the hypocrisy has to stop. If I were the MPP in this conversation, I would not even pretend as though it's not happening in my party. I've had a few even having the audacity to want to condemn what was happening as far as this IOC election is concerned. I'm like, please, you should be the last to talk. Because in your party is far, far, far worse. So this is a moment to want to acknowledge that this is a problem that's happening in your party too. And so I say this is actually an opportunity for NDC and MPP to say, on this one, we actually should see how, because part of the solution might require a certain understanding of the two. So for example, if we decide to have an expanded membership, very huge delegate system, which allows for every registered member of the party that is in good standing to be allowed to vote, which makes it virtually impossible for people to be able to induce or buy. There must also be a system that prevents, let's say, NDC people from going to join NDC membership because somebody has come to us and come and do my, so that I can use it to win. The same thing for MPP not to cross into. So some possible collaboration could be done in that level. But that will be asking for a lot, demanding from our friends on the other side. But I hope to God that they will be able to see this also and say, listen, this could be an opportunity for them also to resolve that problem. And I would say our doors will be open if they come to the realization and said, in what ways can we look at collaborating so that we can deal with this permanently.
Often we've looked at the problem from the vote buying point of view. We haven't looked at it from the vote selling dimension.
In fact,
because
the vote selling dimension is a bigger dimension.
Absolutely.
Because the truth is that is That is the real societal canker. The real problem is that, sadly, it's a society that believes that every single thing I need to do, you must pay me. At every level. It's happening at every level. Whether it's by the roadside, where if a policeman who is doing his duty thinks he has to ask you for money, or you go to a ministry, somebody believes that before I can do this, you have to pay, or any favor you must pay. So that's a society. It's a societal degeneration. So I would say this one is simply the tip of the iceberg. But we are in a position where we are producing leaders at the political level. But there are so many other leaders at the business level, leaders at the educational level, leaders at the cultural, social level. They also must start finding ways in which we can address the canker. But sometimes people think that it's only when you solve the political problem, then you solve every problem. No. You can solve a political problem, but you still have massive problem that is still there at all levels of the society. So what you said, the selling part is a bigger one. And that bigger one is actually a product of the very thinking, the very mindset of the society that believes that everything you must get something.
But here's the opportunity. Because whereas you're going to make it prohibitively very expensive, because of all the sanctions you may probably put in place, you expand the delegates base for politicians in your party to buy votes. Don't you also see a realm where the delegates, if you demand, if you request, if you accept, you also have a certain liability written into a constitution, for example. If it's found that you demanded, somebody even offered, a politician or an aspirant offered, and you took, that delegate also has some level of consequence that is applied to you. Ideally, as part of the holistic solution to the problem.
Ideally that should be, but even as you know, that's far more difficult because the numbers are simply the numbers are huge. And you'll be able to monitor everybody. We can monitor those who are aspiring because they are fewer. So let's say if we're talking about primaries, we have a small number of people who want to become, let's say, parliamentary candidates. So you can monitor that a bit easier. People who want to become members of the national executive, they are fewer. People who want to become presidential candidate, they are fewer. So it's easier. And of course, if once you can solve this one, that automatically gets solved. Because if I'm not in a position to offer you the bribe, no matter how much bribe you want to receive from me, you can get it. So indirectly, I've solved the problem.
And finally on this, there's a sense that the Electoral Commission itself needs reform. And civil society have advocated that the Electoral Commission is supposed to be the supervisory agency for political parties, but also conduct elections, and that you should separate the two. Have an institution whose job is to regulate political parties, and then EC can focus on this core job of conducting national elections, if you like. Where do you stand on that?
I think as a party, it's not an issue we've taken our time to delve into as yet. But I think it's a good conversation. I'm going to take it up and see exactly what the views of our party will be in terms of doing some consultation. Anything that can make our country better, anything that can ensure. Because you see, if we had a thing like that, this whole even politicization of who becomes
EC
chair and so on also goes down. Because I personally want a situation where I don't need to have an NDC leaning person in charge of the Electoral Commission. No. Just do what is right for the country, and that's fine. Once I can trust that you are doing your job professionally, you are not doing any shenanigans to help anybody, I'm okay with that. And that's something we will want. So these are conversations that I think will be helping towards us building the country we are looking for. Yes.
Let's talk about Ghana for a second under JM's leadership. Last year, when I last spoke to you at the end of the year, we were marking almost a year of JM. Things were looking up. There has been no scandal. You've managed the affairs very well. When I say you, I'm talking about you as part of the government, and things were rosy. Months on in 2026, we're talking about a cocoa crisis. Farmers and NDC's roots are, it's just exactly that kind of base is where you're appealed to, have received what the minority describe as a haircut, on what you had promised to deliver to them. You accept that is, many say, is a failing of a government that otherwise, for the last 1 year, had done tremendously well, and that is possibly the beginning of a lot more to come in terms of your hardship you're inflicting on the poor cocoa farmer.
Even Sami, as you know, it's not possible to have a 4 years of governance without there being some, shall I call it, rough patches. It's expected. But what is important is to first of all try to be very candid with the country, and also not take decisions that are simply short-term in nature, but take decisions that in the long term will bring solutions. And that's, I think, is what we've done. The good thing is this. And then again, as you can expect, our friends on the other side who literally are like, shall I call it, people who are in a desert looking for a drop of water, and they literally have been looking for some water. They feel this is the opportunity. We've got some water finally to be able to drink. So you can see them jumping all over the place. But what, unfortunately, they do not understand is that the farmers are discerning. The farmers, they are smart enough to appreciate that what is happening now is not just something that is limited to the country. These farmers know what is happening next door in Côte d'Ivoire. They know what's happening next door in Togo, who also have cocoa, they export cocoa. So they know, for example, that prices even in the two countries have also collapsed. If it were not so, a lot of the cocoa, beans that have not yet been paid for would have found their way into neighboring Côte d'Ivoire or Togo. You know that. During the time of the NPP, when, for example, they had I would like call it a world price that was in the region of 10,000 USD, and they paid the farmers what amounted to 30% of the world price. A lot of that cocoa found itself into neighboring countries, which has been the beginning of the difficulty. So the farmers do appreciate that. It's true that the prices have been reduced, but the prices have been reduced because the world market prices have collapsed, which is affecting Ivory Coast, which is affecting Togo, which is affecting all other countries. So if the country says we are making that sacrifice to give you 90%, which is the first time we've ever gone anything close to in terms of percentage of FOB, 90%, much of that is not what it is that you hope to get. They appreciate that that's a lot of sacrifice that has been made for them. And then, of course, with that commitment, they do know when the prices go up, there's a government that would do a lot more for them. So I know our friends in NPP were hoping that this is their final opportunity to have a go at the NDC. But NPP, you failed again. The farmers of Ghana are smarter than you. They know that this problem is beyond Ghana. It's affecting Togo, it's affecting Ivory Coast. So your hope that somehow you're going to get some, shall I call it, a major scoring point on this, you failed again.
Bottom line, the farmer is going to be deprived of a significant amount that otherwise they would have gotten because you promised them so.
No, the promises are
they
always,
simply want their money.
No, the promises are always based on the world market price, and the farmers know that. I mean, when, for example, the price was 10,000, we told the farmers that if we were in government at that moment, we'd be giving you high percentage, which is a minimum of 70%, and that amounted to a high price. Now, if the price has collapsed to the level it is, we still have been able to at least give them up to 90%. But that's not all. We are now making an announcement of policy reforms that inures to their benefit. This attempt to give up to 50% of our cocoa beans to the processing sector is a game-changing policy, because the value addition in the cocoa sector amounts to anything in the region of 140 billion USD globally. Now, if you are able to have a good percentage of that, that changes the game. It means that the amount of value you are now deriving is far more than when you are selling raw cocoa beans. So again, this also is a blessing in disguise, because it's giving us, just like the NDC primary thing gave us an opportunity to address a problem now on a long-term basis. These cocoa crises are also now giving an opportunity to bring policy that will bring a complete transformation to the cocoa value chain.
Except that the criticism is this is self-inflicted. This is mismanagement at Cocoa Board, and that you should have done better prediction of future prices. And that at the time when you were promising 70% and increasing the producer price to 5,000 plus, you should have known that down the line, and in fact, if you listen to the produce buying companies, that there was enough evidence at the time that cocoa prices on the world market were going to collapse. So you then set the prices so high, you bought it at that price, the prices on the world market then collapsed. So you're now sitting on a lot of cocoa that you can't sell because you bought it so expensively. Nobody on the world market is going to buy it at that price because the prices collapse. And that is a mark of a failed administration.
No, I totally disagree. Because even the most, the most sophisticated financial analysts who work in the World Bank, the IMF, in all the top global financial rating institutions would not be able to tell you that they always get their projections 100%. It's not possible. NPP did their forward sales when they were in office. And what did that amount to? That led us to a situation where we forward sold almost 800,000 tons of cocoa. And then at the end of the day, the price literally, became, we were able to supply only about 300 or so thousand out of that 800,000. That is part of the problem that we have today. So they who are shouting about forward sale, your own history in forward selling tells you how much of a disaster that was to the country. So the last group of people who should even be talking about forward sale is the NPP, because your very administration of the cocoa sector left that sector in the kind of disastrous situation it is today. I've not even talked about the massive, what you call road liability that they left in billions. When they have no money to be able to pay the cocoa, the jute sack that they bought, totally unconscionable attitude. Even the fact that they were even increasing what you call salaries for workers, and increasing the number of workers when the cocoa sector was in trouble. So what we're having now is rather sanitizing the situation, using this difficulty to look for solutions that will be much more sustainable, and that would benefit our farmers on the long run in the country.
Talking about farmers, don't they deserve an apology, the cocoa farmers?
Apology for the world price
So
collapsing?
you had the producer price was set for the crop season. The crop season is not over, and you've reduced it.
Because the farmers, as I told you, they understand that the world price has collapsed. The farmers are in touch with their colleague farmers in Côte d'Ivoire, so they do know what is going on.
So they don't deserve an apology.
So why would you apologize? Because that's a problem with anything that had to do with farming. Their colleagues who are selling tomatoes, who are selling other crops, face some of these problems very regularly. The cocoa sector largely has been a little much more regulated, so some kind of insulation. But even that, there are instances where this is virtually what you call force majeure. And they know that the same situation is happening in Côte d'Ivoire. Imagine what's happening in Côte d'Ivoire now. They are in a problem. They also cannot sell. Their government has not been able to react like we have done. We at least have made a reaction in order to be able to pay our farmers up to 90% of FOB. Their colleagues in Côte d'Ivoire would wish for a similar policy thing done in their country so they can also breathe. So I'm sure they will look at what's happening in Côte d'Ivoire and say, you know what, it's a tough situation, but Ghana, we are better off.
And I want to end by talking back on the National Democratic Congress. Very soon you're going to go to a phase of renewal at the leadership level. Somebody must replace John Dramani Mahama. Recently, you said something very controversial. In fact, some in your party have criticized you for it. Some people have suggested that John Mahama is so good that he should go for another term. And you have said publicly that whoever is saying that is a sycophant. You've been told.
Actually, that's not what I said.
That's not what you said, but that's what you were quoted as saying.
Yeah, often people. What I said was this: that there is a group of people in the party, and I know who I was talking about. Just of course, I'm not going to mention their names in public, There's a group of people in the party, and I'm talking people who are highly placed. I'm not even talking about what ordinary supporters are saying on the street and so on. No, I'm talking about there's a group of people who are highly placed, who are up to shenanigans, talking about a third term, when the president himself has declared clearly that 2028 is the end of his term. Publicized it, declared it. Now, so this group of people who are doing what they are doing exactly are behaving like sycophants because they are behaving as if they care about John Mahama more than the vast majority of the party. And so I was talking specifically to people, and of course, some of those people know themselves. Some people have misconstrued and say, oh, he was referring to parliamentarians who made that statement. No, I wasn't talking about the parliamentarians because I know what happened on the parliamentary floor was simply our colleagues in parliament mocking the NPP. Counting them. So that was not what I was referring to. I was referring to a number of moves that were being made by people highly placed who should know better. And I'm happy that the message has gone through.
But you were criticized by some publicly that use of the word, calling them sycophants, was too strong. You say you didn't call them sycophants, but you used the word.
No, I'm talking about a specific group of people, and I maintain that they were being sycophantic.
What were they doing exactly that required you to brand them as such?
I don't need to go into the details.
Were they trying to influence the president to change his own?
No. I mean, that's what the president is not. We are changing his position, but let's just say that
they were trying to sow the seed.
They were doing things that it was important for them to be called to order, and I think it's clear because whatever machinations they were in place.
And they stopped.
Of course.
And they stopped.
Of course. I mean, what's the point? It's a done deal. It's not happening.
They stopped because you called them out publicly?
Because they know that it's not happening. Because there's no way you are changing the president's mind anyway. And the party has come out clearly to also say that no, it's not on.
Yeah, I mean, very interesting point you made there. I recall very well the last time I spoke to you. There was another matter, which you came in for some flack about the those in your party you publicly stated were trying to cut deals, etc. And you said you make that point to just serve a warning to people. Mm-hmm. And that since then they've backed off. I remember clearly on my show you were telling me that they've backed off and that had been dealt with. This is almost the same approach you're taking.
Exactly.
Why are you resorting to this?
Sometimes people do not get it, but in the positions we occupy, we are privy to a lot of information. And especially when you've taken the position of ensuring that we put what you call the searchlight on our own government, our own party, you are going to be getting a lot of information. And I'm not somebody who simply will jump into making pronouncement until I feel there is the need, because certain things may be a little, if not stop immediately, it may cause us an embarrassment. So the aim at every moment is to protect the party. That really is what it is about. Because for some of us, these resets must be real. And to be real, we who are members of the government, we say we love GM and love this party, we should be the first. We do things well. So, but you can understand in any organization, it's not everybody who is going to be able, who wants to do what. So from time to time, you have to make sure you call people out. Some people are not happy. Oh, please talk about this in the chambers. Don't talk about it in the public. No, the public out there, especially the millions of our youth who voted for us, need to know that at the highest level of the party, we simply are not going to countenance certain attitudes.
Yeah, but in both cases, yeah, you know the people, mm-hmm, or the group of people, mm-hmm, or the person, mm-hmm, confront them privately. Why choose a public platform to make such a pronouncement?
Why confront them publicly? I mean, privately. I say it in public in order for the party and the country to know that as a party, we are not going to countenance it.
But the criticism is, mm-hmm, once you say that you arm your opponents, in fact, the Hamza criticism of you was that in the case of the cutting deals, you're then exposing your party.
As I told you earlier, criticism. This one of the most unfortunate statements ever made, and it was made by President Kufuor. When President Kufuor said, "I'm not going to take on corruption openly because to destroy my government," I think it's one of the most unfortunate statements any leader can make. Any leader can make. No, if it's wrong, come out and say it. Because that's the only way this country is going to go forward. You see, when you are so desperate for clinging onto power at the expense of doing what is right, it means you don't care about this country. You care about your party more than you care about country. For me, it's the opposite. I care for this country far more than even I care about the NDC. So when the thing is wrong and it's threatening my country, I'll speak. Yeah, because the country have to be protected.
But I come back to the point. For that group of people who were sowing the seed and planting and trying to spread this.
By the way, we are not talking about a lot of people. Okay.
Yeah,
we're talking about very
small,
very significant.
My bigger
very
question,
significant.
My point is that because you said it publicly, you said they've stopped. But those are elements that deserve far more than just a public reprimand.
No, but don't forget. I mean, it's not like a crime has been committed. You are stopping a wrong thing being done. So indirectly, you are preempting it. And that's all that matters. You preempt something from happening. It's a different thing. The person has gone committing a crime. You are saying, then you should expose this person and let the punishment be meted out to the person. No. You pick up something, you come out and say, no, we are privy to what plans or what conversations are going on, which if it materializes will not be good for country. So you do that in order to be able to preempt it.
Final question. What is Fiifi Kwetey's ultimate NDC dream? What I mean is, Martin Luther King said famously he had a dream, and he defined what that dream is in very clear terms. We have the American dream. What is Fiifi Kwetey's dream for the NDC? What do you want the NDC to be in the next 10, 5 years? When you dream about the party that you lead, what is it? Define it for me.
I want this party to become increasingly conscious of the fact that what it is founded for is to at all moments place the interests of the country ahead of all things. That's number one. I also want the party to become supreme sovereign so that everyone in the party, from the flag bearer all the way to the last person at the branch level, appreciates that the party is number one and all of us stand on the party to rise to the places we are. For far too long, a lot of people believe that, the party is simply disposable. I stand on it, and once I get into a position, then I kind of push it away. Some people actually believe that we need to get into position so that we can become so powerful, then we can control the party. My dream is to ensure that such shenanigans will come to an end, that we have a party that's so strong, and every single person will always remember that the party is number one, and all of us are under the party, not the opposite.
And that is Fiifi Kwetey defining his NDC dream. Enjoy the rest of your evening. Thank you very much.
Always a pleasure, Evans. Always a pleasure.